The night before our school's coming-of-age ceremony, my girlfriend Rachel showed up with Ulysses, the class scholarship kid, and straight up demanded I give him my custom suit. Ulysses is from a poor family and can't afford a suit. She said you've got plenty of clothes. Oh, and he needs your shoes and watch too. I actually laughed just because he's broke. I have to take care of him. What's next, paying for his wedding? His kids. Ulysses' face went dark. Rachel lost it. She said if I didn't have everything ready by tomorrow, we were done. Engagement cancelled. I just stood there for a second. Then I called my grandfather. If anyone was canceling this engagement, it was going to be me. You want to cancel the engagement? Why? Grandpa asked. We're just not right for each other. I've known Rachel my whole life, and I thought I understood her. Turns out I don't know her at all. He was quiet for a moment. All right, we'll set up a dinner with both families and end this properly. I agreed and headed to class. After evening study hall, everyone was hyped about hitting a bar to pre-celebrate the ceremony. Even the teacher didn't stop them. But then Rachel spoke up. You guys go ahead. Ulysses is upset, so I'm staying with him. The whole room went dead silent. Everyone looked at me, including the teacher. They all knew Rachel and I had grown up together. We were engaged. I looked at her, and my eyes started to sting. 20 years she'd been everything to me. But apparently, I couldn't even compete with some guy she'd known for a year. Come on, Rachel. Don't kill the vibe, someone said. And Emmanuel, don't even say his name. Rachel snapped. He deliberately humiliated Ulysses earlier. That's why Ulysses is upset. Nobody said another word after that. Ulysses gave me a smug look and patted Rachel's hand. It's okay, Rachel. Go have fun, I'll be fine. Then he put on his sad puppy face. Rachel immediately grabbed his arm. All worried, no. I'm staying with you tonight. I felt my stomach drop. Staying with him all night. I wanted to scream at her. Do you even remember I'm your fiancé? My classmates tried to smooth things over. She's just joking. She wouldn't actually stay with him all night. Yet everyone knows you two are engaged. We're all waiting for the wedding invitation. Rachel's voice went cold. Sorry to disappoint you. That wedding might not happen. She walked off with Ulysses on her arm. Then she stopped and turned back to me. I gave you a chance. It's up to you whether you take it. I smiled. Don't worry. I've already made my choice. 20 years just like that. We were strangers. That's messed up. My classmates said seriously. She's engaged to you. And she's talking about spending the night with another guy. I'll go get her. I stopped him. Forget it. Here's the thing. People who don't love you don't even see you. So why bother? Let's go. Drinks are on me tonight at the bar. The energy was great, mostly because Ulysses wasn't there. Look, nobody ever treated him badly for being on scholarship. We always included him. But he had this way of making everything awkward. $100 for a plate of fruit. Must be nice being rich. I can't afford gifts like you guys. So here's a verbal happy birthday. My family's poor. I wish I could just throw away clothes when they get a hole in them. He always played the victim. Like we were rubbing our money in his face. And every single time Rachel would jump to his defense. Hey, stop zoning out. Sing something, get all that frustration out. A classmate shoved a mic in my hand and ran to cue up Endless Love. That used to be my favorite song. Not anymore. Change it. Put on Lonely Boy. He paused. Then quietly switched the song. The intro started playing. And the door swung open. Rachel walked in with Ulysses. The whole room went silent. Rachel acted like she didn't notice. Ulysses talked me into coming. He's right, I should be here. Plus I wanted everyone to see his new look. She was beaming. So, isn't he handsome? Dead silence. I looked at Ulysses in his full suit tie, dress pants, leather shoes, and started clapping. Yeah, he looks great. See, at least you have taste. Rachel was pleased. Ulysses has always been good looking. He just never had money to dress up. Now he's as good as any of you. I smiled but thought handsome. He looked awkward as hell. You can dress up a guy with a dark heart, but you can't make him look classy. Rachel was just seeing what she wanted to see. She looked Ulysses over and frowned. Something's missing. She turned to me. Emmanuel, give him your watch. I'm not asking for your clothes. Just the watch. You can do that, right? I froze and looked down at my wrist. The watch was old, but I'd always taken care of it. Because Rachel's father had given it to me. He put it on my wrist. He said, "This is the Wilson family heirloom. I'm trusting it to you from now on. Rachel and this family are in your hands." After a long pause I asked, "You sure about this?" "What's there to be sure about? It's just a watch. Don't tell me you can't even part with a watch." She walked over and yanked it off my wrist. I wanted to stop her, but I didn't. "Uncle Peter, don't blame me. I thought this is Rachel's choice. She thinks Ulysses deserves this more than I do." She hadn't expected me to stay quiet. Once she got the watch off, she nodded. "See, you finally grown up." She walked back to Ulysses, gently put the watch on him, handling him like he was made of glass. It hurt like hell, but I made myself keep watching. I needed to learn how to stop caring. After that, Rachel and Ulysses sang together. They kept touching, making eyes at each other. During love songs they sat closer. And closer. Ulysses put his arm around her waist and shot me a smug, triumphant look. I kept my face blank and down my beer. Around 11 Rachel was drunk. Leaned against Ulysses' arms around his neck, asking him to take her home. Ulysses looked at me and smiled. Hey Emmanuel, why don't you take her instead? Before I could answer, Rachel waved her hand sloppily. No. I hate him today. I don't want him. I want to go to your place. I promised to stay the night. Ulysses pretended to panic. She's drunk, man. She doesn't mean it. Don't take it personally. I shrugged. She hates me and wants to stay with you. She's all yours. Take her home. Take her to your place, whatever. I walked out without looking back. My eyes were already red on the way home. Memories of Rachel played in my head like a movie. We'd grown up together. My whole world had her in it. From kindergarten through high school, I'd always protected her. When older kids made her cry in elementary school, I went after them with tears in my eyes. I got beat up, but she got an apology. I was bruised all over, and I was still smiling. Every year on her birthday, I'd have my parents buy every firework in the city and the front page of every newspaper to celebrate her. When we were 16, our families arranged our engagement. I was so happy I couldn't sleep. I thought we'd grow old together. But everything changed when Ulysses showed up. She stopped being sweet with me. All I got was yelling and criticism. I put up with it because I loved her. But did she love me before yesterday? I would have said yes. Turns out I was wrong. She didn't love me that much. 20 years beaten by 3. Yeah, apparently so. The next day I saw Rachel at the classroom door. She looked pale and unsteady. Ulysses was holding her up. I walked right past them. Rachel stopped me. What? I said flatly. She wouldn't look at me. Ulysses took me home last night. I passed out the second I got there. And forgot to let you know I was safe, okay? I nodded. Anything else? She frowned, surprised by how calm I was. You don't believe me? No. I just didn't sleep well. I'm tired. Take care of yourself. Don't drink that much again. Hesitated. Then hugged me. Yesterday was my fault. I shouldn't have yelled at you or said those things. Just to make you mad. I'm sorry. Oh, and I have a surprise for you. At the ceremony today, I smiled funny. I have one for you too, really. Her eyes lit up. We really do think alike. I smiled and walked into class. At the door, I glanced back. Ulysses looked annoyed while Rachel clung to his arm. Acting cute, I laughed to myself. And kept walking. The ceremony started on time. All the parents were there, mine. Rachel's, everyone's. Students went up one by one to thank their parents. When it was Rachel's turn, she thanked her parents, then got down on one knee in front of me, holding a ring. Emmanuel, will you marry me? The whole place gasped. Her parents smiled proudly. My parents smiled too, only Grandpa Andre stayed stone-faced. I looked over at Ulysses. He was grinning, flipping me off, eyes full of challenge. I smiled and walked up to the stage. Step by step, Rachel looked at me hopeful. I stood there for a second. Then I grabbed the ring from her hand, turned around and hurled it at Ulysses. I won't marry Rachel, I announced. She and Ulysses are the real couple. Let's all wish them. While I started clapping. Then I turned back to Rachel, still on her knees, and said softly, surprise. You like it? The room went dead silent. Her parents' smiles froze. My parents stared at me in shock. Grandpa gripped his cane. Rachel's face went white, then red. She shot to her feet. Emmanuel, have you lost your mind? No, I just did what you wanted to do. But we're too scared to. I looked at her calmly. I used to think I couldn't live without her. But once I actually let go, I realized nobody's truly indispensable. We all have parents, friends, family. We don't live for just one person. What the hell are you talking about? She was shaking, pointing at me, tears in her eyes. I threw away my pride and proposed to you in front of the whole school. And this is how you treat me? How could you do this after 20 years? How can you face my parents? She pointed at them in the audience, tears streaming down her face. Mom, Dad. I'm so sorry, Rachel. Her mom screamed and ran up to hold her. Dad's face was dark with rage. He turned on my parents. This is your son. My parents opened their mouths but couldn't say anything. I spoke up, voice flat. Uncle Peter, leave my parents out of this. They didn't know. Then this is all you. Rachel's mom held her tight and glared at me. The warmth she'd always shown me was completely gone. What did Rachel ever do to deserve this humiliation? This engagement was made by both families. If you changed your mind and fell for someone else, we could have handled it privately. You've known her for 20 years. Is this how you treat her? Humiliating her in front of the whole school. She's a girl. Do you want her to die? The other students started chiming in. That's so messed up. If you wanted out, you could have just talked to her. Why do something this extreme? Poor Rachel. She fell for the wrong guy. Poor Rachel? She fell for the wrong guy? Are you kidding me? The whispers in the auditorium grew louder, a tidal wave of misplaced sympathy crashing over me. I stood center stage, the villain in their perfectly constructed high school drama. Rachel was sobbing into her mother's shoulder, a masterclass in playing the victim. I looked at Rachel's mother, Auntie Helen. Her eyes were venomous. This was the woman who used to bake me cookies, who used to joke that I was her son long before the wedding was ever planned. Now, she looked ready to tear my throat out. Humiliation. I let the word roll off my tongue. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried perfectly through the microphone still clipped to my lapel. The feedback whined, cutting through the murmurs. Auntie Helen, you're talking about humiliation. But let me ask you a question. Where was my dignity last night? Auntie Helen froze. What are you talking about? Ask her, I said, pointing at Rachel, who suddenly stopped crying, her breath hitching. Ask her where she spent the night before her big proposal. Ask her why she demanded I give my custom suit to Ulysses. Ask her why she forced me to take off the Wilson family heirloom, the watch Uncle Peter gave me, and strap it onto another man's wrist just so he could look classy at a bar. The silence that fell over the auditorium was heavy, suffocating. Uncle Peter, who had been glaring at me with murderous intent, suddenly went rigid. His head snapped toward Ulysses, who was standing a few feet away, the smug grin slowly melting off his face. Ulysses instinctively pulled his sleeve down, but it was too late. The glint of the vintage silver and sapphire watch caught the stage lights. Is that true, Rachel? Uncle Peter's voice was dangerously low. He stepped away from his wife and daughter, marching to the edge of the stage. He looked directly at Ulysses' wrist. That watch was a promise. It meant you were the protector of our family. You gave it to him. She didn't ask me to give it to him, Uncle Peter. I corrected, my tone deadpan. She ripped it off my wrist. Said Ulysses deserved it more. Then she spent the entire night at a bar with her arms around him. Told the whole class our engagement was probably off, and went home with him. She passed out at his place. I didn't see her until this morning. Emmanuel, shut up. Rachel screamed, panic finally shattering her fragile victim facade. You're taking it out of context. We're just friends. I proposed to you, didn't I? Yeah, you proposed to me. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. Because reality hit you. Because Ulysses can't pay for the lifestyle you want. Because without the engagement, your parents cut off your credit cards. You didn't kneel because you love me, Rachel. You kneeled because I'm your safety net. But I'm done playing the backup plan to a scholarship kid who thinks the world owes him a living. Ulysses stepped forward, puffing out his chest, trying to salvage his pride. Listen here, rich boy. You've had everything handed to you. Rachel just wanted me to feel included for once. You're just insecure because she actually connects with me on a deeper level. Thwack. The sound of a heavy wooden cane striking the polished floor echoed through the room like a gunshot. Everyone turned. My grandfather, Andre, was standing up. The man rarely spoke, but when he did, boardrooms went silent. He walked slowly down the aisle, his face a mask of carved granite. Even my parents stepped aside for him. Connects on a deeper level, Grandpa, Andre repeated, tasting the words like bad milk. He stopped at the front row, looking up at Rachel's parents. Peter, Helen, we arranged this union because we believed our families shared the same values. It appears I was mistaken. Andre, please. Uncle Peter stammered, the anger draining from him, replaced by sheer dread. These are just kids fighting. Rachel made a mistake, she's young. A mistake is failing a math test. Stripping my grandson of his dignity, parading another man in front of his peers, and treating our family's heirloom like a cheap trinket to appease a beggar's ego is not a mistake. It is a revelation of character. Grandpa Andre didn't yell. He didn't have to. The engagement is broken. The merger between our companies is suspended pending review. And as for the watch, Grandpa Andre looked at Ulysses. Ulysses shrank back, suddenly looking very small in the suit that was tailored for me. Take it off, Grandpa ordered. It was a gift, Ulysses muttered, though his voice shook. He looked at Rachel for support, but Rachel was staring at her father, who looked like he was about to have a heart attack. Take it off, Uncle Peter roared, his face purple. Before I have the police arrest you for grand larceny. You think you can keep a $500,000 heirloom? The crowd gasped. Ulysses went pale. $500,000. He clearly had no idea. His hands trembled violently as he fumbled with the clasp. He almost dropped it on the floor before practically throwing it onto the edge of the stage. I walked over, picked it up, and wiped it against my jacket. It felt dirty. I didn't put it back on. Instead, I walked down the steps and handed it to Grandpa Andre. I'm sorry, Grandpa, I said quietly. I didn't protect it. You did exactly what you needed to do, Emmanuel, he said, patting my shoulder. You observed. Now let's go home. As I turned to leave with my family, Rachel broke away from her mother and grabbed my arm. Her fingers dug into my sleeve. She wasn't playing a part anymore. There was raw, unadulterated panic in her eyes. Manny, please. Please don't do this. I'm sorry. I was just acting out. He doesn't mean anything to me, I swear. I've loved you for 20 years. I looked down at her hand, then up into her tear-streaked face. I felt nothing. The burning in my chest from the night before was gone. The 20 years of memories that used to play like a highlight reel just felt like a movie I had watched a long time ago. You didn't love me, Rachel, I said softly, prying her fingers off my jacket one by one. You loved that I loved you. There's a difference. Have a nice life with Ulysses. I walked out of the auditorium. For the first time in 20 years, I felt like I could actually breathe. The fallout was nuclear. By Monday morning, the social hierarchy of the school hadn't just shifted. It had been entirely rewritten. I arrived at school in my usual casual clothes, parking my car in the usual spot. A few people stared, but nobody said a word. When I walked into the classroom, the atmosphere was thick. Rachel was sitting at her desk, staring blankly out the window. Her eyes were swollen, and she wasn't wearing her usual immaculate makeup. She looked exhausted. Ulysses was sitting in his usual spot at the back, but the vibe around him was entirely different. Before the ceremony, people respected him. They thought he was the gritty underdog making his way through an elite school. Now, they knew he was a grifter. The illusion of his noble poverty had been shattered by the blatant greed of parading around in my suit and watch. I sat at my desk, opened my textbook, and put my headphones in. At lunch, the reality of the weekend set in. I was sitting with a few guys from the soccer team when Rachel walked into the cafeteria. She looked around, clutching her tray, her eyes darting toward our table. She took a step toward me. Before she could close the distance, Ulysses intercepted her. He grabbed her arm, just like she had grabbed his the night at the bar, and pulled her toward a secluded table in the corner. Watch this, muttered Julian, a guy I'd known since middle school. This is going to be good. I didn't want to care, but human nature won out. I glanced over. Rachel and Ulysses were arguing. Her voice carried over the din of the cafeteria. What do you mean you need $500? She hissed, looking around frantically. I told you my dad froze my accounts. I don't even have gas money to get home today. Rachel, come on, Ulysses retorted, his sad puppy face firmly in place, though it looked strained now. My mom's medical bills are due. You promised you'd help me out this month. You're rich. A frozen card is just a temporary thing. Can't you just ask your mom for cash? My dad threatened to kick me out of the house, Ulysses. Our family's companies are going to war because of what happened. I'm ruined, and you're asking me for money? Because you said you'd take care of it. Ulysses snapped, his true colors flashing. His voice lost its victim-like softness, turning harsh and entitled. You dragged me up on that stage. You embarrassed me in front of everyone when your dad made me give the watch back. The least you can do is help me out. Rachel stared at him as if seeing him for the first time. The romantic, misunderstood poet she had built up in her mind was evaporating, leaving behind a parasite who was annoyed his host had run dry. She stood up, her tray clattering against the table. Don't ever speak to me like that, she whispered, turning on her heel and walking out of the cafeteria. Ulysses sat there alone. He caught my eye across the room. He expected me to look triumphant, or maybe angry. I just gave him a blank stare, took a bite of my sandwich, and went back to my conversation with Julian. That hurt him more than any punch ever could. I didn't hate him. I just didn't care he existed. 2 months passed. Graduation was looming, and the pressure was on. My life had streamlined in a way I hadn't expected. Without the constant mental drain of managing Rachel's moods, interpreting her passive aggression, and dealing with Ulysses' manufactured dramas, my grades skyrocketed. Grandpa Andre had officially started letting me sit in on board meetings. I was accepted into my top-choice university in London, thousands of miles away from the mess of my hometown. Rachel's life, however, was in a freefall. Her father hadn't been bluffing. Uncle Peter was a proud, ruthless businessman. To save face with my grandfather and salvage the fragile business ties between our families, he made an example out of Rachel. She was stripped of her car, her allowance, and her social standing. Worse, Ulysses had abandoned ship. The moment he realized Rachel was cut off, his deep spiritual connection with her vanished. He moved on to a junior named Chloe, whose parents were newly wealthy and oblivious to his reputation. I saw them in the hallways sometimes. Ulysses wearing a new designer jacket, giving Chloe the exact same soulful, tragic looks he used to give Rachel. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, I stayed late in the library finishing a paper. The school was mostly empty. I packed up my laptop and headed down the dim corridor toward the exit. Emmanuel. I stopped. Rachel stepped out from the shadows near the lockers. If she looked bad the day after the ceremony, she looked like a ghost now. She was thinner, her hair pulled into a messy knot, wearing a faded sweater I hadn't seen in years. It was the sweater I bought her for her 16th birthday. A cheap trick, trying to evoke nostalgia. What do you want, Rachel? I asked, keeping my distance. Can we just talk? 5 minutes. Please. Her voice broke. It wasn't the manipulative crying from the stage. It was a hollow, desperate sound. I checked my phone. I have to be at the office in 20. Make it quick. She flinched at my coldness but stepped closer. He left me. Ulysses. I know. I have eyes. He was just using me. Every time I bought him something, he'd promise it was the last time. He told me I was the only one who understood his struggle. But the second my dad cut me off, he started treating me like a burden. Yesterday, I saw him with Chloe. He told her the exact same story about his sick mother. Why are you telling me this? I asked, my voice flat. Rachel looked up, tears finally spilling over. Because I was an idiot. Manny, I was so stupid. You were always there. You were so constant, so safe, that I stopped seeing you. I thought Ulysses was exciting because he needed me. But he didn't need me. He just needed my money. You loved me. She reached out, grabbing my hand. Her fingers were freezing. I miss you. I miss my best friend. Please, Manny. I know I ruined the engagement, but can we just go back to how we were? Before him? I'll do anything. I'll apologize to your parents, your grandfather. I looked at our joined hands. A year ago, her touching me would have made my heart race. I would have moved mountains to wipe those tears away. I would have fought Ulysses in the parking lot for hurting her. Now I just felt a profound, exhausting pity. I gently but firmly pulled my hand away. We can't go back, Rachel. Why not? She pleaded, stepping forward, invading my space. People make mistakes. We have 20 years together. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It meant everything to me, I said, looking her dead in the eye. That's the problem. It meant everything to me, and you threw it away for a thrill. You didn't just make a mistake, Rachel. A mistake is kissing him at a party. What you did was calculated. I took a step back, putting distance between us. You humiliated me on purpose. You wanted to break me down so I would accept whatever scraps of attention you threw my way, while you kept Ulysses as a pet. You didn't come back to me because you realized you love me. You came back because he abandoned you. And the real world is too cold for you to handle alone. That's not true, she sobbed, wrapping her arms around herself. It is. And the saddest part is, I don't even hate you anymore. I adjusted my backpack. I'm leaving for London in 2 weeks. I won't be at graduation. I wish you the best, Rachel. I genuinely do. But we're done. Forever. I turned and walked away. Manny, she screamed, her voice echoing off the metal lockers. Manny, please don't leave me. I didn't look back. Just like I told the guy at the bar the night before the ceremony. People who don't love you don't even see you. I finally understood what that meant. And I finally understood that it applied to me too. The final week of school arrived, bringing with it a strange sense of closure. My bags were already packed for London. My family was hosting a small, private farewell dinner at our estate, effectively replacing my high school graduation. But karma, as it turns out, is not a patient force. It doesn't always wait for you to leave town before it strikes. It was a Wednesday. We were in the middle of a senior assembly when the heavy double doors of the auditorium swung open. 2 uniformed police officers walked in, accompanied by the school principal. The low hum of teenage chatter died instantly. The principal took the microphone from the podium. He looked grim. Will Ulysses Vance please step forward and accompany these officers? A collective gasp swept through the room. Heads swiveled toward the back row. Ulysses was frozen in his seat next to Chloe. His usual arrogant smirk was completely gone, replaced by a pale, sickly terror. Is there a problem, officers? Mr. Harris, our homeroom teacher, asked nervously. One of the officers, a stern-looking man with a clipboard, didn't mince words. We have a warrant for Mr. Vance's arrest on charges of grand theft and wire fraud. The room erupted. Fraud! Someone yelled. Chloe ripped her hand out of Ulysses' grasp, looking at him in horror. Ulysses, what did you do? Nothing. It's a mistake. Ulysses stammered, standing up. His legs looked like they were going to give out. I didn't do anything. The officer stepped into the aisle. Mr. Vance, we have the security footage from the pawn shop in the West End, as well as the bank transfers matching the stolen funds from Chloe Sterling's family accounts. Let's go quietly. The pieces clicked into place. Ulysses hadn't just been leeching off his wealthy girlfriends. He had gotten greedy. When Rachel was cut off, he panicked. He found Chloe, but Chloe wasn't as careless with her money as Rachel was. So the misunderstood scholarship kid had resorted to stealing jewelry from Chloe's home and forging wire transfers. As the officers marched him down the aisle, Ulysses looked around like a trapped rat. His eyes met mine. There was no smugness left. No triumph. Just the desperate, pathetic look of a con artist who had run out of marks. Emmanuel, he suddenly shouted, his voice cracking. Emmanuel, tell them. Tell them I'm a good guy. You know my family. Tell them I needed the money for my mom. I just sat there, my arms crossed. I don't know you, Ulysses, I said calmly, my voice carrying in the silent room. And from what I hear, your mother died 3 years ago. The room went dead quiet. Even the officers paused. Ulysses' mouth opened and closed like a fish. The final lie, the core of his victimhood, exposed in front of everyone. Chloe burst into loud, ugly tears. The officers yanked Ulysses forward, hauling him out of the auditorium. The heavy doors slammed shut behind them, sealing his fate. I looked across the aisle. Rachel was sitting a few rows down. She was staring at the doors, trembling. She had nearly ruined her entire life, her family, and her future for a petty thief who used his dead mother as a bargaining chip for sympathy. She slowly turned her head and looked at me. Her eyes were hollow, completely devoid of life. There was no plea for forgiveness this time. Just the crushing realization of what she had thrown away. I held her gaze for a single second. Then I turned my attention back to the front of the room. The flight to Heathrow was 10 hours long. I spent most of it reading a book on international corporate law, sipping sparkling water, and looking out the window at the endless expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. When I landed, the damp, cool London air hit my face, and I smiled. My grandfather's driver was waiting for me at arrivals, holding a placard with my name. He drove me through the bustling streets of the city, past centuries-old architecture and modern glass towers, until we reached my new apartment in Mayfair. As I unpacked my bags, I found a small velvet box tucked into the side pocket of my suitcase. I sat on the edge of the bed and opened it. Inside was the vintage silver and sapphire watch, the Wilson family heirloom. Underneath the watch was a small, handwritten note from Grandpa Andre. A man is not defined by the disrespect he endures, but by the grace with which he walks away from it. You have proven yourself worthy of this. Protect it, but more importantly, protect yourself. Grandpa. I smiled, a real, genuine smile. I took the watch out of the box and strapped it onto my left wrist. The leather was cool against my skin, the weight of the metal heavy but comforting. It fit perfectly. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a message in our old high school group chat, which I hadn't muted yet. Julian had sent a picture. It was graduation day back home. Everyone was in their caps and gowns, smiling on the football field. Beneath the picture, Julian had typed, "Missed you today, man." Oh, by the way, Rachel didn't walk. Heard her dad sent her to a strict boarding school in upstate New York to rehabilitate her character before college. Ulysses is looking at 2 years minimum. I stared at the text for a moment. 20 years of history. Childhood promises. Teenage heartbreak. It had all burned down in the span of a few months, leaving nothing but ashes. I didn't feel the urge to reply. I didn't feel the need to gloat. I closed the chat, went into the settings, and hit leave group. I set my phone face down on the bedside table, walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window, and looked out over the London skyline. The city was alive, moving fast, completely indifferent to my past. It was exactly what I needed. I checked the time on my wrist. The second hand ticked forward, steady and relentless. It was time to begin.